Hi, my name is Pablo Castillo.
Hello, my name is Adriana Alvarez.
Hi, I'm Pavel's mom, and I'm here to supervise how they change a tire.
And we're going to teach you
How to replace a flat tire.
using physics. So before we change the tire, we're going to have to use some tools. And we're going to be using the lug nut remover.
And the jack, which is basically to just lift up the car. So first and foremost, you need to get the spare tire out of its storage place. And then just wait. Next, you set up the jack underneath the frame and just basically crank it all the way up. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time, so it's just here.
Once the car jack is in place and the tire is already off the ground, you just take off the lug nuts using the lug nut remover. Slowly but surely, they all should come off, but it does take a while. Once you got all the lug nuts removed, you just take off the tire from its frame and BAM! That's it, you got yourself a removed tire. And this is a spare tire we will be using to replace the old one. Time to replace the tire. We gotta line up the points. Okay. Using all your strength, just put the tire on its frame, making sure the points are aligned, and BAM! You got yourself your replaced tire.
After placing the tire back into its frame, you must set up all the lug nuts back to their bolts and use the lug nut wrench to tighten them all up. This might take a really long time, so lamo.
Finally, to complete this, just take off the jack using the lug nut wrench and BAM! You're done.
This is the end result. Just as new. Yeah.
And that's how you change your tire. Now for the physics part.
So the first physics concept we'll be talking about is about forces and equilibrium. Now, in terms of this, we have a Ford Fusion 2016 that weighs about 1,281 kilograms. Now this will be important when we talk about what happens with the jack and how it pushes up against the car. Now, as you saw in the beginning, how Adriana pushed up was about to push up the frame of the car. Let's pretend that this little box is the frame of the car. Now, the car jack. What happens is that the car jack is exerting a force, an upward force, on the frame of the car, while the frame of the car is also exerting a downward force caused by gravity. We'll extend that so we can see it. So what happens here is that you have your force of weight, which is equal to the mass of the car times gravity, which is your force of weight. Now we can solve for the force of weight using the mass of the car in kilograms times force of gravity 0.81. Your force of weight will be equal to about 12,556 newtons. That's your force of weight. Now, this is important because when the car jack is directly attached to the frame and the tire and none of the car is lifted up, that means that your forces in the y direction, the sum of the forces in the y direction, are equal to 0. That means it is at equilibrium. Well, my bad. That means it's at equilibrium. It's not going up or down, it's just where it's at. So that means the Fn, or the normal force, is also at 12,556 newtons. Now this is important because later on, when the car jack does eventually push up and moves the whole car up, that means that the Fn of this and the Fw are offset. That means they're not balanced anymore. That means when the car jack, let's say car jack's up here, does exert a force upwards, the Fn will be greater than the force of weight. So the force of weight is equal to 12,556. Let's say when the tire is completely off the ground, the Fn will have to be about 20,000 newtons. That means that there's a Fy, there's a net Fy of, let's say, I'm just gonna approximate because I don't actually know how it is. It should be about 8,000 newtons of force in the up direction. So overall, this is how it would work when it's at equilibrium. That means the normal force and the force of weight are equal to each other, but when it's being pushed up by the car jack and the total car is lifted up, that means the normal force, which is the force being exerted by the car jack going up, is greater than the force of weight of the car, which is why the car moves or is being lifted up.
Okay, so right now we're going to use some numbers from the previous examples, and we will be calculating the total work that was exerted by the car jack when it lifted the tire completely from the car. Okay, so as we know, work equals force times distance, right? 12,556 newtons is the force of weight of the car, or as we know, our F variable. And the distance here, or the D variable, will be what we measured when we check how much the car was lifted off the ground, which was about 0.8 inches, which rounds to 0.2 meters. Once we have both of these variables, we can now plug it into our equation to get the total amount of work the car jack was being exerted in joules, which, I mean, I'm not a calculator, but I'm putting it in my calculator, which is about 2,511 joules. Boom. Our last and third topic is torque. Torque is the twisting force that causes rotation. In our example, we had to turn lug nuts using a lug nut wrench to remove them from the tire bolts and then take off the tire from there. The force being acted upon these lug nuts is exemplifying torque since we are twisting them in a certain direction, thus it's causing a rotational force.